Hello, this is Sally Henderson of Karnach Training. This presentation today is looking at communication, specifically why when we communicate with somebody else it can go wrong, and at the end of it we'll look at what we can do about it. Now the model I'm going to show you I came across many years ago and I've used it extensively in communication skills training. I've also used it in equality and diversity training because what the model does beautifully is help us understand where the other person is coming from, and it demonstrates that we are all very, very different. But today I'm going to use it to illustrate communication specifically. So let's have a look at the model. Here we have person A. Let's say this person is you. What this model is going to show you are some of what we call filters that we have around how we communicate and how we view life. So we have to ask ourselves, what is it and who is it that has shaped how we view the world, shaped how we respond to things? And the first one we're going to look at is our parents. And this is about the messages that our parents maybe gave us as children. Those messages would be based on their values and beliefs. Those values and beliefs may not be relevant for our generation. And some of those messages may have been very, very strong. I still hold on to the messages that I got from my father around what was good enough. And when I'd come home with test results, 98% wasn't good enough. I never got praise. It was always what happened to the other 2%. So I have a very, very strong sense of being a perfectionist. Now let's have a look at other family members. This could be grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, and this might be around some of the messages you got from them. And with the older generation, it would be another generation back in terms of values and beliefs. But what is your family structure like? Do you have aunts and uncles? Do you have cousins? Do they live close? Are you part of a big close knit family? Or is it just you and your mum and dad? Or maybe it was only you and your mum or you and your dad. Do your grandparents live close? Do they see you? Maybe you've only had one grandparent growing up. So that will all shape how you see the world. And the messages we got as children from our parents, our grandparents, from other influential people in our lives. How strong were those messages? How much did we believe in them? Perhaps it was around observed behaviour. One of my examples of observed behaviour for me is watching how my mother dealt with bringing up two kids and having a disabled husband. And she never asked anybody for any help. She just silently got on with it and did it herself. So I have quite a strong sense of self-reliance as a result of that. And where's your position in your own family structure? Were you an only child? Perhaps you're the eldest child and you'd have had messages given to you about, well, you're the oldest, you must be more sensible, you must set a good example to your younger siblings. We expect more of you as the oldest child. Perhaps you were the youngest child and therefore you were more pampered. Maybe you were the middle child and kind of got a little bit forgotten about sometimes. Perhaps you've got older siblings and they're older by 10 years, so you might have been the youngest, but you also felt like an only child at times. So looking at where you were in the family structure will have an effect on sort of messages you got as a child and therefore how you perhaps see life now. And where did you grow up? Did you grow up in the inner city? Perhaps you had a rural upbringing. Perhaps you grew up in another country altogether. Maybe you moved around a lot as a child and didn't have really much of a structure in terms of where you settled for very long. Maybe you had to change schools a lot. Maybe you had to adapt very quickly to making friends, getting on with people. What religious beliefs did you have or do you have now? They may influence how you view the world. Maybe you don't have any religious beliefs at all, and again, it will influence how you view the world. What are your hobbies and interests? Maybe some of your hobbies make you very sociable. Maybe you have hobbies that make you quite insular and not very comfortable interacting with other people. Your political beliefs will shape how you view the world. And the media, huge influence on how we view the world. Very, very negative sometimes, the media. But what is it you read in the media? What is it you watch? And not just the media, but also your interest in terms of the television programs you watch, with so much reality TV now as well. And so much of what we see can encourage us, without us perhaps thinking about it, to judge other people and sometimes judge them unfairly. What's the social environment? that you grew up in or that you live in now? Are you in a council house? Do you live in a nice big detached house? Are you in a mid-terraced house? That will all affect how you view the world and how you view other people. Let's look at your education. What was the primary education like? Were you in a religious primary school? Were you in a mixed school? Was it a small primary school? Was it a very big one where you might have felt a little bit lost in it? What was your secondary education like? Again, was it a mixed school? Were you in a single sex school? Did you stay on till you were 18 or did you leave when you were 16? Did you go on to higher education and go to university or go to college? Did you live away from home when you went to university? Maybe you just left secondary education and went straight into a job or you had an apprenticeship. Again, there's all your own personal experiences. They'll be different to other people's experiences. They will help shape how you view the world. And let's have a look at your current family status. Are you in a relationship just now? Are you living with somebody? Are you married? Is it just you and your partner? Have you got children? Have your children grown up? Maybe you're a single parent family. Everything that we're looking at here shapes what we see and how we respond. And these are our filters. And we view life and we respond to other people through these filters because we try and interpret the world around us based on what we know. And what we know are all these things we've just gone through here, and they create a filter effect in terms of how we respond and how we talk to others. So let's have a look at another person that we're dealing with. And what is it that shapes their view of the world, shapes the way they see things? Well, you're going to be saying that it's exactly the same as the things that shape us, and you'd be right, except they had different parents, they got different messages from their parents. They had a different family structure. It might have been larger, it might have been smaller. They would have got different messages as a child, observed different behaviours from other people. Their position in their family structure would have been different to the position you had in your family structure. They grew up in a different place. If you grew up in the inner city, maybe they grew up somewhere rural. Maybe they grew up somewhere very, very poor in another country. Maybe they've got wealth beyond anything that you could possibly imagine. Their religion and their beliefs will be different to yours. Their hobbies and interests could well be different to yours. Their political beliefs could be different to yours. What they watch and read in the media will be different to what you watch and read. Their social environment, where they live now, will be different to yours. Their primary education, their secondary education, their higher education, all different experiences to the ones you had. And their current family status could well be different to the family status that you currently enjoy. And again, they view their life, they see everything around them, they communicate with other people through their filters. And so we have similar filters in some ways, but they're completely different. So is it any wonder that we can therefore end up with a miscommunication with people? If I said to you now, imagine a cat. Well, if I asked you to tell me what the cat looked like, you might say yours was a ginger Tom. Well, I might say mine was black and white because I currently have two black and white cats. So our vision of a cat is completely different. So how can we understand where the other person is coming from and help see life through the eyes of the other person? Well, in some ways it's quite simple, but in other ways the simplicity of it also makes it very complicated and very challenging. But first of all, we shouldn't make any assumptions. So when I say something like, well, imagine a cat, I shouldn't assume that you're going to imagine exactly the same cat that I'm imagining. So how do we ensure we don't make assumptions? Well, we can ask questions. Tell me about the cat you're thinking about. What is it that makes you say what you've just said? Ask lots and lots of open questions, but we have to listen to the answers. And we also have to suspend our judgment of people until we can understand what it is they're saying and where they're coming from. So there we have why communication can go wrong. I hope that in understanding the filters that we have in front of us, it helps you see that we do need to be more aware of how we think, why we think the way we do, how we speak the way we do, how we interpret the way we do, and also help you see that we need to see through the other person's filters too, and that we can only do that by asking the questions, by listening to them, by not making assumptions, suspending judgment about them until we have got to know them better. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope you find that it's really, really useful to you in being able to communicate with other people more successfully.